All right, so Halloween is just 2 days away, and I thought now would be a really good time to just go ahead and update my Halloween franchise ranking. Before we do that, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button on this channel and hit the like button on this video. All right, guys. So just a few years ago, when I first started the channel, I did my Halloween ranking, and that was prior to Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. So I wanted to just kind of update that now that we have those entries into the franchise, and let's see how I feel about it, because I feel like this list pretty much changes every couple of years or sometimes a few times a year. It just depends on how I feel at the time. So let's see where we're at in October 2025. And before we get started, I got my Dr. Loomis glass from Fright Rags, Samuel Loomis Haddonfield Lager. Pretty cool stuff. They did not pay me to do this. I'm just very excited about the glass. Cheers. All right, so getting this thing started out at number 13. I don't think it's a surprise to many people. A lot of us feel the same way, and that's going to be Halloween Resurrection. Now, I kind of have a soft spot for Halloween Resurrection. I do like the movie, in some aspects. I do like what they were trying to achieve. At the time, reality TV was really starting to get big. The first person camera POV thing was really big at the time, and they were trying to incorporate that into the Halloween franchise, right? Because if you can take something that's current and add Myers to it, then maybe you can, add that scare factor to it. So I get what they were trying to do, but it just didn't land the way that they would have hoped. One of the things I really didn't like much about Resurrection was the mask. Now, it grew on me over time, but that's one of those things I just can't get over. I can't stop looking at when I watch it. I mean, look at the eyebrows on that thing. Now, another thing was, Busta Rhymes. Now, I like the character of Freddy in Halloween Resurrection. I like what he was trying to do. I like the purpose of the character. But, when I read into Taking Shape 2, what I would find out is that they allowed Busta Rhymes to pretty much make up his own lines for the movie. He pretty much had carte blanche with the script, and that really translated on film. I mean, the famous line that everyone hates. And then there's the part with all the martial arts films where he tried to mimic everything he saw and then use that to beat up on Myers. That whole thing was just a little too much. So I like where they were going with the idea, the concept, but the movie just didn't land. So then coming in at number 12 is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I really did like the story for this movie. I mean, the story was really good. I like all the changes that Rob Zombie made to Halloween 2. The best thing about it by far, I think, is the opening sequence, the dream sequence at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. That gave us that nostalgic feeling of the original Halloween 2. I actually really hoped when that movie came out that it would be a direct kind of remake. The way he did with Halloween 1 is what I was hoping for. So I thought we'd get Haddonfield Memorial Hospital throughout the entire film, and I think that would have made a better movie. But that said, I really did like the story overall. What I did not like was the way they portrayed Michael Myers. I didn't care for him constantly taking off the mask and always showing his face. I think that mystique is gone once you do that. Losing the classic overalls and going with the, plain clothes look. He had that long coat. There was just a lot that I just did not care for in the look of Michael Myers. The story overall was great. So I put it at number 12, mostly because of the Myers character in this movie. Coming in at number 11 is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007. While I really love this movie, I love, the changes that they made with the movie. I love that Annie Brackett makes it through and survives to see part 2. I love the way Scout Taylor Compton portrays the Laurie Strode character. I love the way Tyler Mane plays Michael Myers, the size of the character. Like, there's just so much to really like about this film. But the reason that I put it at number 11 is the opening. Once we get past Michael killing Judith Myers and William Forsythe's character, I believe his name was Ronnie. Once we get past all of that, we have to watch a very, very long portion of the movie of young Michael in Smiths Grove Sanitarium, talking to Dr. Loomis, and we kind of see all of the childhood stuff going on. And, I've said in past videos, I'm pretty sure I've said it in my first ranking video, seeing too much of Michael's childhood, I think takes away from the mystique of the character. It takes away everything from the Michael Myers character. So that's why I put it so low on my list. All right, now coming in at number 10 is going to have to be Halloween 5. This movie is one that I really grew up with. For any of us who grew up with AMC's Fear Fest, they always ran parts 4 and 5 back to back. For years, they did this. And a lot of us kind of grew up, loving Halloween's part 4 and 5. I love part 5 for what it is, but there's so much wrong with this movie, and the first thing has to be the mask, of course. At the end of part 4, he gets shot into this mine shaft and ends up in this river, and he goes in wearing one mask, and when part 5 starts, he comes out wearing a whole different mask. So that inconsistency is enough for me to lower this movie down on the list. But then there are other things that I hated as well, and that was Jamie Lloyd being mute for most of the movie. I hated the whole concept of her being able to see what Michael was doing in her mind and know when things were about to happen. And, I get where they were going with that connection between Jamie and Michael, but I hated that whole thing. I think it took away way too much from the film. And then the other thing about part 5 was the fact that they kill off Rachel so early in the movie. I thought Rachel had the potential to be like one of the really great final girls in the Halloween franchise, and they just kind of did away with that so early in the movie. Like everything that we came to love about the Rachel character in part 4 just gets wiped away, and it's like it never even mattered by the time we hit part 5. All right, time for another sip of the Samuel Loomis Haddonfield Lager. All right, coming in at number 9 is going to be Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I really wish I could have put this movie much higher up on the list, but there's so many other Michael Myers-based films, of course, so I do have to keep this one a little bit lower. But I remember when this movie came out, there was such an uproar about it because everyone thought that Michael Myers would be in this film, but instead he makes a slight cameo on the television screen while Dr. Chalice is at the Buccaneer bar having a beer. Cheers to that. But again, this is one of my favorite sequels. I do love the fact that Myers is not in it. I remember being younger and being upset about that. But, as you get older and you really watch this movie and you start to look at it as a standalone film, you realize that this really is a great Halloween movie if you can just separate Michael Myers and separate it from the Halloween franchise. And maybe had they taken the Halloween 3 title out and just called it Season of the Witch, it would have been taken a little more serious. It would have been loved more from an earlier time instead of it becoming more of a cult classic now. But I love the character of Conal Cochran. I mean, he cuts one of the best monologues in the franchise toward the end of this movie. All right, coming in at number 8 is going to be Halloween Ends. I know a lot of people really wanted this movie to be much lower on the list. I know a lot of people watching probably have this at the bottom of their list. But it's one that really grew on me over time, especially after a couple of watches. I started to see the bigger picture on what this film really is. And it really is about how anyone can become the evil. This isn't just about Michael Myers, and this isn't just about his issue with Laurie Strode or anything like that. This is about the fact that in the right circumstances, anyone can take on this evil that Michael took on. I did like the fact that Michael was able to pass on his evil to Corey Cunningham when Michael himself was just way too weak to handle going out and doing all of the killings himself. Now, like most people, I do wish there was a lot more Michael Myers in the film. I get what they were doing with trying to center the story around Corey Cunningham and make him the new Shape. I get where they were going, and I do like it for what it is. But I do think there would have been more interaction with Michael Myers and Corey, or just more Michael in general to help pass along that evil and pass along that story to move it on to the next chapter. All right, coming in at number 7 is going to be Halloween H2O. This is definitely one of the better sequels in the entire franchise. It was a direct sequel to Halloween 2 from 1981, so they decided to retcon everything that happened between parts 2 and Halloween H2O. And I think it was a good choice for the time. You got to think about the fact that Halloween's 4, 5, and 6 kind of got so far out of hand, especially by the time we get to part 6. It just gets so off the rails. And, there are people like me who love part 6 for various reasons. But at the time that H2O dropped, I think that was the better choice, was to just retcon everything and go direct sequel to part two, kind of revisit where Laurie Strode is at that time and how she's coping with what happened to her in the past. And now she has a son, and she's having to raise her son under this trauma, and now she's passed that trauma on to him, and then she's picked up, alcoholism, and there's so much going on to tell this story. And I think it was a great sequel for the time that it was in, and at the time was probably, next to Halloween 2, the best sequel. All right, coming in at number 6 is going to be Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I know a lot of people put that one much lower on the list, but for me, it ended up growing on me and becoming one of my favorites. I hated the thorn thing at the beginning of part 5, like, the whole, like, where did the tattoo come from? Where did the man in black come from? But once we got to part 6, I really started to appreciate the Thorn cult. It became one of my favorite stories in the Halloween franchise. I do like the explanation of the Thorn cult. I even have the tattoo. But the thing that I didn't like about Halloween 6 had to be the fact that they kill off the Jamie Lloyd character so early in the movie, depending if you watch the theatrical or the producer's cut. But if we're just talking the theatrical cut, they kill off Jamie Lloyd very early in the movie. And then, of course, they didn't want to bring Danielle Harris back to play the character. And that kind of just, rubbed me the wrong way. It's hard to look at. Like, it's hard to see this character as Jamie Lloyd. Nothing against the person that played her, of course. That's not her fault. It's just hard to see that person playing Jamie Lloyd. But I do love the Thorn cult storyline. I love parts 4, 5, and 6. Overall, like, as a whole. Part 5 is a little lower on the list, but as a whole, the Thorn cult storyline, I do actually love it. So I had to move that one a little higher up on the list and put it at number 6. All right, coming in at number 5 is going to be Halloween Kills. I mean, I love this movie for the nostalgia factor alone. Like, we're talking bringing back the original characters from 1978. We have Lonnie Elam, we have Lindsay Wallace, we have Tommy Doyle, Marion Chambers. I mean, bringing back all of those original characters just felt really good. And then the big thing for me is I love the flashback scenes in Halloween Kills. It really connects everything. The way they shot it, the colors, the film grading, it actually feels like they pulled you back into 1978. And they found a really great way to connect Halloween 1978, 2018, and then now in Kills. So the nostalgia factor alone, on top of that, the look of Michael Myers, the mask, the brutality, everything about this movie is just fun to me. I know a lot of people hate the Evil Dies Tonight chants, and I agree with you fully. I hate those chants. I think they're awkward. They come in at the most awkward times. I mean, when you set that aside, I really do like this film. And I know the other thing a lot of people hate is the character of Tivoli. They hated that they told this story of the mob chasing down Tivoli. But you have to remember that they're trying to tell this story of people who are traumatized. They're scared. On top of that, they have no idea what Michael Myers looks like. So this guy just, to them, was the target. And that's just the story they were trying to tell. So to me, I love this movie. I love what they did with it. Evil Dies Tonight aside, everything else about it was great. All right, coming in at number 4 is going to be Halloween 2018. So this movie was a direct sequel to 1978's Halloween, and I think they did a great job of telling that story. They told the story of where Laurie is, 40 years in the future. Not only is she an alcoholic, but you get to see the trauma, the fact that she raised her daughter in a very traumatized way, and she lost her daughter throughout the course of her life. And the story of trauma, which a lot of people hated, but I loved it. I loved that they told this story of trauma. And then I thought the kills were really good in this movie. I thought the final battle between Laurie and the Shape was one of the better battles in the entire franchise. Just for that final scene alone, and the way it ended, the way they locked him in the basement, and they set the place on fire, and we knew he was going to escape. I think all of that alone, I had to put that at number 4. So Halloween 2018, number 4. All right, coming in at number 3, we're in the home stretch here, is going to be Halloween 4. Halloween 4 to me told the best story outside of the original 1978 film. I mean, this one really felt like a legitimate sequel. It really captured the aesthetic, the vibe, the story. Out of all the sequels, this one actually felt the most like the 1978 film. I love the character of Rachel Carruthers. I thought she's one of the better final girls in the series. I love how they incorporated Jamie Lloyd as the daughter of Laurie Strode. Laurie Strode is, died in a car accident. And they really, really put this story together well. Michael Myers has been in a coma for 10 years. He comes out of it when he finds out that he has a niece. And he just goes on this tear that, to me, is scarier than most of the Halloween sequels. Now, I know there's a lot of hate for the mask, and I felt the same way in the beginning, but I think this mask is scary in its own right. It has its own place in the franchise, and it makes sense how he got it, right? He wouldn't have the original 1978 mask. He's been in a coma for 10 years. So you see in Halloween 4, he goes into the discount mart while Jamie Lloyd is there, and he picks up a similar mask off of the shelf. He found something he liked. So it made sense how he got the mask. And to me, when you see that scene in the beginning of the film where the lightning strikes on his face, right there you realize this is actually a pretty spooky mask. So I have no problems with it. I actually love the mask in this movie. I love the story they told. I love the aesthetic. So Halloween 4 comes in at number 3 for me. So coming in at number 2, I think is no surprise, is going to be Halloween 2 from 1981. I thought it was the perfect continuation of the night that everything happened. I know John Carpenter did not want to make this movie, so he kind of came up with this story of Laurie being Michael Myers' sister. Some people feel one way about it, some feel another. I actually love the storyline. I love the story of Laurie Strode being the sister of Michael Myers. I love how they were able to take that throughout many sequels in the franchise. When you look at Halloween 2, because it happened so close to the first film, right? 1978 was the first one, 1981 was the second one. You still had the same aesthetic. It had the same feel. It even feels like it was filmed on the same time frame, right? The cameras were the same. You had the same people involved in the film with Deborah Hill and Tommy Wallace. And everything about it is just, it feels like the 1978 film continued the way it should have. All right, coming in at number 1, I think is no surprise to anyone. It's probably the same on most people's lists, and that is 1978's John Carpenter's Halloween. This one tells the story of the original Shape. Michael Myers kills his sister Judith when he's younger, ends up being locked up in an institution until he's 21 years old. He escapes Smith Grove Sanitarium, and then continues to stalk all of these teenagers around Haddonfield, ending with the final battle between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Donald Pleasence playing Dr. Loomis was an absolute genius in this movie. He cut some of the best monologues in horror movie history in this film, and I think there's not much that really has to be said. We all know how we feel about the original 1978 Halloween. So I'll leave it at that. That is my Halloween franchise ranking for 2025. Let me know in the comments how you feel. Let me know what your ranking is. What's number 1? What do you put at the very end? What's the worst Halloween movie? Let me know your opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. And please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button on this video. Cheers.